You say you believe in the resurrection, that Christ rose from the dead, that he conquered sin, that he defeated death. But your life doesn't reflect that. You still treat sin casually. You still delay repentance. You still approach Mass like it's routine. You say you believe the most radical event in human history, and then live like nothing actually changed. That's the problem. Because if the resurrection is real, you don't get to live the same way. The resurrection is not symbolic. It's not a story. It's not a tradition. It is a claim about reality. A dead man walked out of the grave. Christ did not rise in spirit. He rose in body. That means death was not final. That means sin is not harmless. That means God has acted in history, not abstractly, but physically, decisively, and permanently. And if that is true, then everything changes. If someone rises from the dead, you don't treat that casually. You don't fit that into your life as one belief among many. It reorders everything. Because it means this world is not ultimate. Death is not final. And your life is not self-directed. It means you are accountable. Not eventually, but now. And yet, most people try to contain this, to keep the resurrection as something they believe, without letting it disrupt how they actually live. But if it's real, it doesn't stay contained. It forces a response. If Christ truly rose from the dead, then your life is not your own. You are not free to live however you want. You are not free to treat sin lightly. You are not free to remain passive, because the resurrection confirms everything he said about judgment, about repentance, about the cost of following him. It validates the cross. It validates suffering. It validates sacrifice. And it removes your excuse to stay the same. Most people don't reject the resurrection. They just don't take it seriously. They say they believe it, but their actual life is built on something else. Comfort, routine, distraction. They live as if sin has no real consequence. Death is still in control, and God has not acted decisively. That's the contradiction. Because if Christ rose from the dead, then reality has already been changed, and continuing to live as if it hasn't is not ignorance. It's inconsistency. And yet, most Catholics say they believe this without changing anything. They celebrate Easter. They say he is risen, and then return to the same habits, the same compromises, the same spiritual laziness. That's not belief. That's acknowledgement. And acknowledgement doesn't transform you. Real belief does. If the resurrection is real, then certain things in your life stop being optional. Confession is not occasional. It becomes necessary. Because sin is not something you manage. It's something that separates you from God. The Eucharist is not routine. It becomes central. Because you are receiving the same Christ who rose from the dead. Prayer is not something you do when you feel like it. It becomes structure, because your life is now oriented around something real, not something abstract. And suffering is no longer meaningless. It becomes something you endure with purpose, because death has already been defeated. If you actually believe that Christ rose from the dead, then your life must reflect it. You don't delay confession. You don't approach the Eucharist casually. You don't excuse sin. You don't live half-committed, because the resurrection is not just something you celebrate. It's something you respond to. It demands a change. It demands clarity. It demands action. Not later, now. You say you believe in the resurrection, but look at your actual life. You know something is a serious sin, and you still delay confession. Not for a day, for weeks, sometimes months. You receive the Eucharist. without preparing, without examining your conscience, without even thinking about what you're receiving. You skip prayer, not because you reject God, but because something else feels more important. Your time, your comfort, your distractions. And then you say you believe that Christ rose from the dead, that he defeated death, that he calls you to follow him. But nothing in your daily life actually reflects that. That's the disconnect. Not disbelief, but inconsistency. Christ is risen. That's not just good news. It's a decision point. Either it's true and everything in your life must change, or it's not, and none of this matters. But you don't get to say you believe it and stay the same. If you ignore this, nothing dramatic happens at first. That's the danger. Your life keeps going. You keep your routines. You keep your habits. You still go to Mass. You still call yourself Catholic. And on the surface, everything looks the same. But underneath, something is slowly being formed. Indifference. You become less responsive to sin, less aware of what matters, less willing to change. And over time, what should feel serious starts to feel normal. What should lead you to repentance no longer moves you. And that's how faith fades. Not through rejection, but through quiet neglect. Through a life that never fully responds to what is actually true. Because if the resurrection is real, and you choose to ignore it, you are not staying neutral. You are choosing a direction, just slowly.